Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Idahoan Show. Here we have a common dandelion. Most people consider this plant a weed, but I have it from reliable sources that the whole plant is supposedly edible. If I just take a leaf and eat it fresh, it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, kind of mild like spinach or something. It's a little bit bitter, but not too bad. My wife likes to pick the blossoms and then steep them in sugar water and boil it down to make a syrup that actually looks and tastes almost exactly like honey. Maybe someday I'll do a separate episode on dandelion honey, but for today, I thought it might be interesting to dig up this plant and make a stir-fry out of it and see if it's worth eating. Now, I'm thinking that the bitterness of the dandelion is mostly due to the sap. So in hopes of removing some of the bitterness, I think I'm going to soak these cut up pieces in water with a little bit of vinegar added and see if that helps to leach out the sap and or neutralize it so that it tastes a little bit less bitter. Okay, we'll let that soak for maybe half an hour and then we'll come back, drain the water, and stir fry it. Okay, I've got dandelion stir fry over a bed of steamed rice. Well, that wasn't horrible. The leaves in particular are a little bit bitter. You know, they're kind of right at this threshold where if they were any more bitter, the bitterness would just overpower all the other flavors in the stir fry and it would just taste bitter and it would be hard to eat. But if they were any less bitter, then the bitterness would just kind of accent the other flavors and blend in with them and it wouldn't really be noticeable. So they're right at this threshold where the stir fry does taste a little bitter, but it's tolerable. You know, if anything, I think I like the root pieces better than the leaves because they're not as bitter. You know, they have just a real mild, starchy, earthy flavor. And both the roots and the leaves have kind of an interesting texture. They're, you know, soft and chewy and fibrous and a little bit crunchy, kind of all at once. And maybe that's just an artifact of how I cooked them. Maybe I got lucky on the cooking time and got them right at that point where they have that little bit of crunch left, even though they're mostly cooked through. I don't know. They're definitely a little bit fibrous. They take a lot of chewing, but they're not fibrous like overripe asparagus or celery where you just chew on it and eventually you're left with this mouthful of fiber that you don't want to swallow. You know, the fibers are softer and more chewable than that, so you know you can chew them up and eat them, unlike some vegetables that can get pretty woody. So I guess the bottom line is I probably wouldn't make this again just to eat a dandelion stir fry. I mean, it's not good enough that I would repeat this strictly for its culinary value. That said, if I was in some kind of a survival situation where I'm scavenging for food, I definitely would consider dandelions to be a viable and perhaps one of the more palatable options. And, you know, even if I was just making a stir fry for dinner and found that I was short on vegetables, was looking to find some other odds and ends to add to a stir fry, adding a smaller portion of dandelions might not be a bad idea. If they were more spread out so that the bitterness was more diffuse and was not as noticeable and just kind of blended in with the other flavors, that might not be half bad. Or, if I was going to make just another dandelion stir fry, it might be interesting to try using something more acidic in the sauce. Dump a bottle of Coca-Cola into the stir fry or something to see if I could neutralize the bitterness of the dandelions a little bit better. And maybe that would make it more palatable. Anyway, hopefully you found this little culinary experiment as interesting as I did. And until next time, thank you for watching The Idahoan Show.